Just about everyone has a Facebook page, from business owners to students, even grandparents. But the messages that you post could actually hurt you. Dr. Lawrence Burgee, Department Chair and Associate Professor of Information Systems at Stevenson University, is here to describe the darker side of Facebook. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here today. Thank you.
The darker side of Facebook, what does that mean?
Well, you know, there are millions of people joining Facebook every day. And once you put your information on Facebook, that information is going to stay there for the rest of your life. And sometimes people post things that they shouldn't post. And we're getting feedback from employers-to-be that our students are feeding back that those employers-to-be are looking at their Facebook profiles.
Now, when this all started, wasn't it supposed to be just something where students could kind of catch up with each other and get to know other students? What happened?
Well, that's correct. I mean, Facebook, when it started, you had to have an email address that ended in edu, which meant only students or people in educational facilities could participate. But they opened that up to the general public, and it's swelled into hundreds of millions of people now using Facebook. And so now you can use it as general purpose. It's not just for students, and people of all ages use Facebook now.
So if you're using it for, let's say, self-promotion, you're trying to tell people about yourself, and you're trying to, I guess, possibly also deal with looking for jobs or anything like that, and you're using it in those terms, how should it be used for that purpose? How should it be used?
Well, you know, you have to remember that Facebook is more or less public. It's very lax in security measures. It's not a secure website like your bank or financial institutions' websites would be. And so it's very easy for people to get in and see your information on Facebook. It's not really that private. And you should be very aware of what you put out there. You shouldn't, for instance, we have an example of a student who went to get a job at the federal government. And when he came out of the interview, they said, you know, we found on Facebook that you talked about politics on Facebook and you listed your political affiliation. They said, that's a no-no for our agency because we need to be apolitical here. And he did not get the job because he listed what his political affiliation. It didn't matter whether he was Democrat, Republican, or Independent. It matters that he talked about politics and his views, and that agency would not allow that. And so he excluded himself from something that he had worked hard for 4 years in college to hopefully get a job at that place. He's not going to get that job now.
And that was a pretty tough lesson for him to learn, wasn't it?
It was a very tough lesson. He'll probably have to look in the private sector versus the public sector because he can't use those views in an apolitical institution.
Now, you have a list of 5 things that you think people should not do when they're dealing with Facebook. What are those 5 things?
Well, going along with what I just said, you should never really, unless you're going to be a politician or working in the religious field, you should never list your political view or your religious view. Those are just no-nos. There's no reason really for anyone else to need to know that unless you're working in those fields. The employer-to-be, particularly in many fields, doesn't want to see that maybe you have an axe to grind in those areas. Another area would be you should never really post photos that would show anything lewd or of partying or drinking, and yet we see this all the time. And just to give you another example, a young lady last year went to get a job at a pharmaceutical company, a young lady that I had written a letter of recommendation for. And she went in, and when she went in for the interview, they said, welcome for the interview, and this person here would like you to be their friend on Facebook for the next hour. They're going to investigate you on Facebook while we interview you.
Wow.
Of course, they said, do you have any problem with that? And of course, she can't say no. So when she came out of the interview, they said, we just want to let you know you look great. You look like a pharmaceutical rep should look. Your grades are great. You have great letters of recommendation, but we're not going to offer you the job because of the pictures you have on Facebook that you posted 2 years ago from spring break.
Okay.
And they were pictures of drinking and lewd behavior, and they didn't think that that would be behavior becoming of someone who would work for a pharmaceutical, and so she did not get the job.
But in many cases, students don't think that these little, I guess, discretions, these things of, oh, this is a funny picture of me, this is a funny picture of my friends, or me and my friends together, just posting that is going to make a difference.
It makes a big difference.
It does, but why? This isn't the first time that they've heard that, though, is it not? I mean, many students have heard about this, but they're still posting these pictures, are they not?
Well, I think a lot of people post things in their teenage years that then they come to regret after they've gone to 4 years of college and spent all that money, and then they're out looking for a job and realize that the things that they put on Facebook that stayed on Facebook that other people could copy are just going to live there forever. You know, things on Facebook don't go away.
So if you're trying to get a job and you're looking at, let's say, graduating, and then this coming spring, all of a sudden you're looking for a job, what do you have to be concerned about dealing with your Facebook page?
Your Facebook image, your Facebook account should have nothing that you wouldn't share with your grandmom or your 5-year-old sister. I mean, you really should keep the language clean. You shouldn't tell dirty jokes. You shouldn't have bad pictures. You should never trash talk a boss, a current boss, or an employee or a former employer. You should never trash talk your teachers or even friends, because that stuff's going to come back at you. And you know, when they go out and investigate and look at your Facebook account, and this is becoming more and more popular, they'll actually look at your friends. And so you could be squeaky clean, but they'll look at the crowd you run with, because most people have Facebook set to allow friends of friends to view. And by doing that, you could be squeaky clean, but all of your friends could be talking about drinking and partying, and that's just not good.
So how do you keep that information, your friends, from posting stuff like that on your page? And also, how do you deal with settings? We just have a little bit more time, but how do you deal with the settings to make sure?
With the settings, you have to be very careful. The default settings for most things in Facebook say friends of friends. But what that means is there are then hundreds of people. Each friend has dozens or hundreds of friends, and you don't know who some of these people are. They could be predators. They could be trying to get your address. They could be looking at pictures of your children, and we see a lot of people in my age range posting pictures of their children, which is something you should never do. It shows indiscretion and just not being too wise with your use of the web. You should make your settings for friends only and not friends of friends. And it's very easy to do. You just log into your Facebook account, go to account settings, and change all the settings to be just for friends only. Okay. Then you do restrict it to just your group of friends. And you should control your group of friends and make sure that friends that are doing bad things on Facebook, you should defriend them.
Okay. All right. Dr. Burgee, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me today.
We'll stay with us.